Alright guys, who broke the robot?
Hello everyone, I'm a Broken Robot. I hope you all are having a great day. I think it's safe to say that in terms of video games, there are very few games that age well with time. It's simply the unfortunate truth that with new graphics and all the new fancy bells and whistles slapped onto AAA games, with time every game will eventually show their age from graphics or a gameplay standpoint. Jump back to 2007. Call of Duty is still based around World War II, the Pokemon games were considered revolutionary, and there hasn't been a good Sonic game since 1992. However, one sleeker hit of the late 2000s, which changed FPS games forever, and then was buried by a sea of Call of Duty clones that followed for the next 5 years, was Black, one of my personal favorite first-person shooter games of all time. Now before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this video, I'd like to politely ask anybody watching, please consider subscribing if you want to see more video game reviews and internet commentary. I've been really enjoying making these videos for you guys, and I'm glad a lot of you have enjoyed them. Now anyway, let's get back to the review.
2-1 standby, I think I got something. Bad news, I got tracks all over the place. Fresh. Maybe platoon size plus in strength.
Copy. Let's not get caught sleeping.
And maybe they're getting ready for a garage sale.
Stay down, I think we got movement up ahead.
When Criterion Games developed Black, they didn't want to make another Call of Duty or GoldenEye 64 clone. Story-wise, Black did something that no other AAA FPS game had done before. Instead of focusing on World War II and the Cold War era, Black's story takes place in 2007, the same year the game was released. Black takes place in Chechnya, Russia. The protagonist is Sergeant First Class Jack Keller, voiced by Marty Papazian. Keller takes on the role of an inadequately disciplined member of a CIA Black Ops unit that plays off the long now overdone stereotype of a maverick lone wolf badass that would be oversaturated by the time 2010 rolled around. The unknown interrogator that we'll get to in a moment is voiced by Paul Papé, who questions Keller about an arms smuggling terrorist organization and gang called the Seventh Wave, who has been responsible for a number of terrorist attacks and homicides. Unlike other video games, Black uses live-action characters to depict their cutscenes, where the real-life voice actors act out the interrogation scenes. Some online have said that these might look a little dated, but at the time this raised the bar for the amount of polish that could be applied to a single title. To better understand the setting and general anti-war themes behind Black, we need to talk about what happened before the actual interrogation.
Keller, J. Sergeant First Class, serial number 717-8412. Iran, Guatemala, Colombia, Croatia. Very impressive.
I know what you're trying to do, sir. It ain't gonna work.
No, Sergeant Keller, you don't know what I'm trying to do. I'm here to clean up this mess. If you cooperate. If I walk out that door, everything you did will be declassified. You will be convicted, you will be discharged, you will spend the rest of your life in prison. Very well, Sergeant. Have it your way.
Wait. What do you want me to do?
Tell me everything you know about Seventh Wave.
Weapons dealers. Heavy hitters dealing mostly in high-spec, former Eastern Bloc hardware. Clients began to include terrorist cells. Seventh Wave was escalated to priority status after they took out 9 agency spooks. Coordinated executions. Division wanted Seventh Wave taken out with extreme prejudice. Intel zeroed in on 3 possible targets. Valencia was the boss. Rubin and Yevtushenko were the muscle. 3 teams were tasked with Overwatch until it was time to take them out. I had one of those teams. Intel suspected the Brits, Chinese, and Israelis had teams in the area. Everyone was after these guys.
Who was the 4th man?
Gunfire. Didn't think much of him at the time.
What went wrong?
We got made.
It's 6-2, this is Alpha 2-9. We have eyes on 2-5. Hammerhead 6-2, this is 2-5. We're pinned down. I have multiple casualties. Request priority medevac on my location. 5-1, this is 3-1. I'm on the other side of the block. I'm coming to you now.
At the beginning of the game, Keller is soon shown that unless he cooperates, he and his actions will be declassified, meaning he will be convicted of court-martial, dishonorably discharged, and imprisoned for most likely the rest of his life. Though initially resistant, Keller agrees to tell his story to this mysterious interrogator from the CIA. 4 days prior to this interrogation, Keller and his military unit were attacking a 7th Wave stronghold in the city of Vabaleska. I know I'm probably butchering that, but I'm not from Eastern Europe. Keller, along with his team, managed to kill 3 high-ranking members of the post-Soviet terrorist cell called the 7th Wave, but then they disobeyed orders by rushing inside a terrorist-controlled building, where a hitman suddenly ambushed them. However, this hitman did not cause Keller's demise, and Keller later learns that his captor is an American, William Lennox, a former CIA wet work operative that had worked with Keller in the past. After faking his own death in Cairo, Lennox has apparently become the leader and gang boss of the 7th Wave. Seeing as this terrorist cell leader is ex-CIA and was at one point close to the organization Keller now belongs to, one could say it's very personal. Keller's next mission is to cross the border into Treneska and traverse the Volkhnik Canal to destroy a base and weapons cache. He then meets a female Black Ops soldier named McCarver, voiced by Cree Summer, the commander of the Black Ops Team Bravo, the sister team to the team that Keller is on. After fighting a wave of terrorists at the farmhouse, Keller and McCarver then moved to a destroy an arms factory in the city of Nazran. To complete this mission, they must navigate an old graveyard in town, both heavily defended by 7th Wave operatives. After doing so, they assault the town's iron foundry, destroying its productive capacity. They then meet a 3rd member of the team, Solomon, the stereotypical Joker type, who always has comic relief to bark during firefights. They learn that Valencia, one of the 4 bosses of the 7th Wave, is hiding in Tavliv Asylum. The team decides to attack the asylum yard, with Keller rushing into the asylum, despite Solomon protesting that their orders were to hold the area. Keller finds Valencia after blowing up a concrete machine gun nest and briefly interrogates him for Lennox's location. It's clear that by halfway through the game, Keller is almost working on his own initiative, trying to find his former partner. Based on the information gathered from the mission, Team Bravo proceeds to the well-defended dockyard, clears the area, and links up with Team Alpha, the sister unit to Keller's team and by far larger in terms of manpower. Alpha Team, however, is destroyed in an ambush while Lennox escapes. In the light of the disastrous result, the operative is declared cancelled, and the mission is abandoned. Despite this, Keller leads a retaliatory assault against the Granazi Bridge around the inside of the Spruchnik Gulag. After making their assault across the bridge, the 3 enter the Spruchnik Gulag, with Solomon and McCarver standing back to keep watch while Keller assaults the 7th Wave position. After a major final battle with 7th Wave soldiers, Keller triggers an explosion, resulting in the destruction of 2 concrete barricades. This subsequent explosion collapses an underground bunker that Lennox was presumed to be hiding within. This is then assumed that he is killed by this attack. After this final battle, and when we return to the initial cutscenes, the interrogator then reveals to Keller that the authorities had, in fact, always known that Lennox was involved in the 7th Wave, opening up an entirely new perspective right at the conclusion of Black's story. Keller had acted predictably, doing what his profile said he would do. While his pursuit of Lennox both was personal and expected, and welcome at times, Lennox is not in fact dead. For Keller's rogue actions, instead of being punished, he is in fact rewarded. Keller is told that a false death in a car accident has been arranged for him, to provide cover so that he could continue his pursuit of Lennox. The game ends with Keller being told to get ready for his next assignment. Unfortunately though, Black never received a sequel. As requested by the head game developer at Criterion Games, Alex Ward had personally requested wanting there to be a cliffhanger ending, to allow you as the player to create your own headcanon as to what happened next, which is something that I actually wish more game studios did nowadays. Now that we actually know the story and setting of Black, let's discuss the gameplay. Black has an incredible attention to details in more ways than one. A new idea which had only been experimented with in the past, in past shooting games, is the idea of a destructible environment. Everything from cars to walls to reinforced concrete barricades can be destroyed by both you and your enemy's gunfire. Destructible environment helps the game add a sense of realism, as you can never hide behind one barricade for too long. Additionally, there is almost a criminal level of attention to detail in their gun sounds and animations and design. All weapons Keller and his crew use are similar to exact models of firearms used by the CIA during the 2000s. Additionally, Black's maps are designed to have hidden weapons, usually in the form of simple but fun submachine guns or some game-breaking grenade launcher LMG that can mow down enemies faster than you ever could with your original starting weapons. Speaking of maps, every single one of Black's main levels are designed with multiple routes to be taken, and with a variety of settings ranging from urban city, dense forest, to Soviet gulag. Every level has a unique design because not only does it keep things fresh for the player, but it also allows the story to have a much greater purpose. You aren't just sneaking through the woods killing enemies because it's fun, you're doing it because you're trying to cross the border into Chechnya. You're not just blowing up a steel mill because it looks cool, you're doing it because in the story the 7th Wave gets their weapon manufacturing supplies from the plant. Unlike other Call of Duty clones of this era that will place you in a breathtaking maps for the simple cool factor and no story input, Black does the complete opposite, with every map and level objective actually playing into the story. That reminds me, if you wish to play Black on anything higher than the easy difficulty, which I'm assuming all Broken Robot viewers want to take part in because you guys aren't a bunch of sissies, you'll have to find and destroy intel ranging from blueprints of government buildings to leaked CIA intel. I'll admit at times it seems unrealistic for a professional terrorist cell to just leave important stolen documents in broad daylight, but they get a pass since if you are playing on a hard or very hard difficulty, you will be required to collect and destroy up to 13 pieces of intel, which can clutter up the map. From enemies speaking the proper Chechnyan dialect to the visual blurs that take place during every firefight, Black is a game that not only plays into its realism, but takes the concepts laid down by Call of Duty and other games that came before it and pumps it full of steroids. For me personally, while Black may have a short linear story, it was ahead of its time when released and opened the door for future shooters to branch out of the World War II and Cold War era for FPSs. While its dialogue and graphics may have aged like a fine wine, the same can't be said for other shooters from this era, making Black truly one of a kind. Even over a decade after release, Black still has a loud audience of fans that use mods and fan art to keep the game alive. Some have even gone as far as to make a Black 2 mod, in the form of a mod that can be attached to the regular game files. And with that being said, if you've stuck around this long, I'd like to ask you once again to please like and subscribe. Have you ever played Black before? Do you wish it received a sequel? Leave a comment down below and we'll see where this goes. And with that being said, I hope you all have a great day, drink some water, do your homework, and stay cool.